How's it going, Berkay?
Pretty good, Eric. How about you?
I've been better. So I wanted to speak to you about another paper that you wrote or that you co-wrote about Internet of Things. Now, you discuss that privacy, well, we're not really having any privacy anymore. And with the advancement of Internet of Things and introducing devices into our homes, our privacy is basically gone. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that and really get your in depth opinion about where you see that really going.
So that's actually really true in terms of like privacy. We definitely don't have any privacy left because here's the thing, and it's basically based on the definition of privacy. The first is like the IoT companies are usually regulated to safeguard those data. However, the data is always available for things such as subpoenas or investigations, and there's a lot of investigations that kind of follow innocent people. Like there has been a lot of cases about that in the past, and the law enforcement use techniques such as geofencing to kind of like have a map, and then in that map they ask Google to deliver all the contact information of the people that was in that specific area. And I believe the Supreme Court just ruled that illegal, but I bet there's a lot of practices, controversial practices like that. So usually like in terms of privacy, it's when we talk about privacy, it's against the malicious actors that have no right to uh, contact your data. Instead of law enforcement or companies, we assume the companies are the good guys. Hopefully we assume the law enforcement is the good people, which we also ignore the, what do you call, the foreign governments, because they sometimes have the power to subpoena records from these kind of companies if they're doing business in their countries. So we're just talking about, like, for instance, your neighbor who may want to gain information from you based on reading your IoT devices and things like that. And I believe you're referring to my tagging paper, and there I explicitly address this situation where when we do Bluetooth, like we have the Bluetooth, that's a wider area of coverage, but it doesn't distribute any information about the IoT device. So like when you tag the IoT device, your neighbor will gain no information, but your neighbor may know how many of these tags you have and can infer how many IoT devices you have. In order to gain information about them, they have to go into NFC range, which is usually centimeters range. So they have to kind of scan the tag in order to gain information about the IoT device. So
Right, like Apple Pay, right? Wouldn't
yes, that's
Apple
correct.
Pay be considered like an NFC?
Yeah, near field communication. It's a very widely used technology. It's basically kind of tapping. I think it's not as simple as that, but you can kind of boil it down to that. But in reality,
Right.
we definitely don't have any like privacy, like against certain actors, such as, let's say, the intelligence community, right? I believe they have their own, like, they're governed by their own laws and things like that, and that can provide them an extra amount of freedom. And the US government, of course, and then the companies. Sometimes the
Right.
companies anonymize these data and then sell it to other data brokers, which I hope they anonymize it. In some cases, they may not anonymize it. And then every day we have like
Yeah.
another breach that's happening. And those breaches usually end up in places such as, let's say, your email password combination, right? You see, a couple of days ago, I stumbled upon a GitHub repository that has all the leaked email and password combinations. So let's say Bank of America leaked all these, right? The passwords are plain text. And then let's say you're
Right.
using a specific password on Bank of America. And then you're also using
Right.
that same password, which is a very common thing. People use the same password again and again. You can kind of like infer that password, and the attacker can access your Facebook, your other banking systems, or any kind of things as well. They can kind of just keep trying until one of those emails and passwords match. So in regards of privacy, we don't have much, unfortunately. Hope, but there are some. And just to like pass it back to you, I don't want to like take all the time, because I was gonna go into like decentralized finance from here. Like I think they are kind of making strides to at least make the payment app
Okay, I think your camera just froze.
aspects a little bit anonymized. Because if you ever like do Bitcoin and
Okay.
oh, I can turn it off if you like. Is it better now?
No, yeah, you're good. Yeah, your camera is fine. It's just it kind of like froze and so it skipped, but you should be fine. Okay, so I don't know if you had if you went further into decentralized finance, but decentralized finance they use blockchain, correct? The same technology, or I may be wrong. I haven't really looked too deep into this. I may be wrong. Blockchain technology, which NFTs use as well. Although, my opinion on NFTs is that there's really no value to that. Although, people have bought NFT artwork for a lot of money and they might find some value in it, but there was no real tangible value out of NFTs themselves. But the technology that NFTs were built on, which is blockchain technology, I think that there is value in that, in enhancing people's privacy. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say, yeah, the underlying technology of blockchain does provide a lot of value. It's not as much as the value as they were hyping up at the time. However, it was does provide
Right.
a lot of value. Each altcoin, for instance. Oh, by the way, is my microphone good? I'm just
No,
hearing.
yeah, yeah, your microphone's good.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Good to hear that.
Okay.
Each altcoin, like as I discovered more and more altcoins, I kind of saw that each provide different values. For instance, like Bitcoin, it doesn't provide like it provides a certain amount of anonymization, but you can still like
Right.
track who sends like money to who. In fact, it's even worse because now it's all right? So, however, let's say Litecoin, right, another altcoin, that has
Right.
I realized when you pay money with altcoins, the Litecoin has like 3.5 cents transaction fee, which is very low compared to Visa and Mastercard. I believe theirs is like 3%, or if it's lower than something, $10, it's like 30 cents or something like that.
About.
So
Hmm.
Litecoin does provide a lot of value for payments, domestic payments, and also international payments as well. Because international payments can get expensive as well. And then you have other kind of coins such as Filecoin that provides another value, the gaming coins that can provide a certain amount of value. But NFT wise, I haven't looked into too much into NFTs, and I think you're right. They may not provide as much value as other kind of digital assets.
Right. Unlike paintings, you could hold a painting, right? But with digital art, it's not more than just an image on the computer or on the screen. So the value may not be like really synonymous with artworks that you could actually hold in your hands. So that's why I think that NFTs, although they have been purchased by an immense amount of money, I don't think the real long term value is there. But the technology that NFTs were built on could provide a lot of value to us. And you
Yeah,
did
blockchain
discuss,
definitely. Right.
actually, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, blockchain does provide like a unique type of database, because it's
Yeah.
very safety oriented, and then, but it may not be the most convenient one. It's kind of like a trade-off compared to other kind of databases, such as Postgres or MySQL, things like that. However, one application of NFTs, I heard that, I don't know how true it is, but like the Boring Ape collection. If you owned one of those, you kind of got invited to a certain club that held parties and let you connect with other people. I don't know how true it is. I just saw it like from probably like a social media page, so it's very unreliable. But I heard that some of those NFTs can serve as a membership card, which I don't know how true it is.
Right. Yeah. I've also heard about artists releasing NFTs and those NFTs having certain perks. I guess you could make an argument for NFTs regarding that, but the amount that you purchase one for could be debated because are they really getting the value that they're paying for? Because it's they're not selling cheap. They're selling for tens of thousands of dollars. At least some are. And then some maybe given out for free by artists. I know I attended a concert once, and for attending the concert, we were given an NFT, but it's the value of it. It's there's no real value to it. I guess it's just to make the audience member to feel good, but apart from that, there's no real value in that.
You can also probably use it for the gaming assets as well, because here's the thing: at the time, we had like Pokemon cards, baseball cards, soccer cards. You know, each player had a card, and technically, I can photocopy it and then get like a what do you call printer and basically duplicate it, right, and then kind of like give that to my friends and things like that. So I kind of found those similar to NFT purposes as well. You know, like NFT is like now instead of having those cards physically, you have those kind of like digitally as well. So that's also one application for gaming and things like that. Maybe in games, like it can help too if the entire NFT blockchain is controlled by a specific company. Then I guess, and then that also prevented them from issuing assets that can also provide a reliable like things of like items, game items or things like that. But I haven't looked into the applications of NFTs so much, like, but I think they have a small application, but like it's not as used as much hyped as they hype it up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, NFTs could be a complex subject because it deals a lot with the inherent value that people add to this technology and what the actual value is. And just like art, the the value that someone adds to it may differ from what someone else values it as. And I guess that takes us back to decentralized finance and with Bitcoin. So I've seen Bitcoin just go through the roof in value wise. And, you know, people have argued that we could go into a future that we use crypto to purchase goods. But I don't think that's at least near in the near future because the value of cryptocurrency goes up and down tremendously. And unlike the dollar that is managed by the Fed, who's really controlling the value of crypto?
Usually, I believe it's all based on speculations. Like, for instance, when the mining ratio kind of halvens, people think that the supply is going to be cut, so they kind of go in. I don't know much about it, but I believe that uh, there are some stable coins, a type of cryptocurrency that try to mimic the value of USD or things like that. And if they manage to get like the centralization aspect and the stable aspect and also the low transaction fee, I think they can enable certain centralized payment styles.
Yeah, because a lot of companies have faced issues when they're doing business abroad and their currency just plummets. And now the goods that they have are worthless. And I want to say this thing happened with Adidas. They had, it could be Reebok or another brand, but they got stuck with so much merchandise because where they were doing business, the value of the shoes went half of what they're worth, and if they just couldn't make any money with those shoes. So just think about that and think about introducing cryptocurrency to purchase goods, that it's all based on speculation. One day one thing could cost $1 and the next day it could cost $2, for example. So I don't think it'll really ever take off. As much as some people want it to take off, you need to be realistic basically, and understand that we are probably too far from from the time that this could actually be a technology that we use in a daily basis, other than just using it as a way to gamble.
Have you heard the decentralized cryptocurrencies for stocks? They're trying to decentralize the stocks now as well.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they if they do go that way, they did not learn anything from the Great Depression.
Wait, what's that?
The Great Depression, 1929.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened was that they were just thinking that they were buying into all these companies, and they could just see a bunch of they could see just the stock market never going down, just going up and up and up until it just crashed. Same thing with the dot com bubble, that a bunch of companies that were not really producing anything were we're having people buy into these stocks and just pumping the price of the stock, and then it just falling because there was no real underlying value. And after the Great Depression, that's why we created the SEC, because we needed an oversight committee to really like to push away all the malicious actors, and to have these securities be secured. And now that's why we get the financial reports, and the companies are very transparent with whatever they're doing because of that. So decentralizing the stock market, it's just gonna take us back to that time. And history repeats itself. You either learn from it or repeat the same mistakes.
I was talking
So
with a Gen X person a couple days ago
right.
about the dot com bubble at their time, which they purchased
Yeah.
a certain amount of stock and then right at the bubble. And then when it blew, they kind of were traumatized. They were able to get their money back after several years. And because of that, they never entered like stock market. They just always were trying to buy a house and rent it out and get the income it that way. So what do you call? I was kind of talking with them about what happened in the dot com bubble, and they were under
Right.
the impression that yeah, like these companies had no earning, but the stocks kept pumping and things like that. However, I
Yeah.
believe like at the time you didn't have like lots of resources like we do right now, such as
Right.
like on Google, I can access any companies, any public companies' earning records. I believe they publish it under K10 or something like that. They have like K forms, and they
Yeah, the 10K.
yeah, but at the time now, like at the time, you couldn't really do that. You weren't able to access their earning records on things like that. I don't know when was established and mandated those publishings, but I believe at the time, like people didn't know that. I'm not sure if that's true though. Like that's just what I didn't like really do a huge amount of research on it.
I guess it's more with the availability of information, because the 10K was established by the SEC, and that's what I was talking about, that now companies are forced to be transparent, and everything that they do, it's all in the proxy statement, in the 10Q. These quarterly financials, these annual financials, it's all transparent now, because people were buying into companies that they had no idea if they were even being productive or not. And they over leveraged themselves. The stock market dropped, and they lost a lot of money, and we went through the Great Depression, and lasted like about 10 years until we were able to really bounce back.
I'm kind of curious when was the K10s mandated, and I actually was just googling that as well.
Yeah.
More than 2000. It doesn't say the time. Probably I can get the time from some. Let me see. Filed with 2004. Is it 2004? I don't know. Wikipedia doesn't say an exact number. It's usually like an event chain Wikipedia is presenting. But I was really curious, when was the 10K published? But even at that time, if it was published, because the dot com bubble happened between like 1990s and then 2005, between that time, 2000s. And I don't think you can easily access K10s at that time if it was published. I don't know.
So I actually got the information. So it's, it says right here that the requirement for companies to file a Form 10K was established by the SEC following the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. And then it says the act mandated that publicly traded companies disclose detailed financial and operational information annually to ensure transparency and protect investors.
So
So yeah, it
19,
was after 1934 is when it was.
then I'm
So
guessing the thing,
decentral.
the dot com bubble was kind of like limited data availability kind of contributed to dot com bubble. That's my guess, is it?
So it was the introduction of the internet that really took the dot com bubble up. So it was fairly new. You know, the internet's a bit old, but it was the real introduction of companies being built on the back of the internet. And a lot of companies were being created. And I think that not many companies were being truthful in their financials. And that's what led to the massive drop in companies, and a lot of companies went bankrupt, and that really changed the landscape of investing. Okay, so yeah, so we really went off the deep end, and but you know, transitioning back to technology, you know, let's further discuss IoT and safety measures that people could really take to protect themselves.
Well, a couple of countermeasures I kind of took is that proxies can help to a certain degree, right? Like your internet history, I believe your internet company is supposed to keep your internet history for a while, right? So whatever you do, it's kind of available, unfortunately. We have like other free VPN services, like Proton VPN is one of my favorite, or Air VPN, things like that. NordVPN, those are a little bit more premium ones. And that's one counter strategy. Another one is, unfortunately, the phone. The phone is actually much worse than the PC. I was just looking into this a while ago. Your carrier, your phone carrier, right? You have to choose one of the phone carriers in the US, and all of them are regulated by the FCC. For instance, when you call 911, I was curious how they pull up your information there, your location especially, and apparently it's your carrier that gives everything about that. You know, they have access to your text, your calls, things like that, and your location data as well. The cell towers can triangulate your location or just simply access your GPS data and then send it to whoever they want. And I looked into how to prevent that. Unfortunately, there's no way to prevent it. And I also looked into some privacy oriented carriers, and unfortunately, no. Like, the most you can do is maybe use a carrier's free premium, free trial for 2 weeks before you give them your information. And then after that, you have to kind of give your information, unfortunately. So the phone seems like a lost cause to me. I don't know how true it is, but like, you have countermeasures such as installing different operating systems. There's open source privacy oriented operating systems, but unfortunately, they can't prevent your carriers from accessing certain data you have.
And the apps that you download as well, right?
Exactly. And like, usually, at least for Android users and Apple users, like, it's already controlled heavily by Apple. Google, I believe you have a little bit more customization option. In Google, like, you have the Google Play Market. They try to counteract that with open source markets that anonymously connect to the Google Play Market. However, still a large portion of the apps require access to the Google Play Market. And if you're ever doing Google Play Market, you have to kind of enter your Google account information there as well.
Right. And you also mentioned geofencing and how Google really tracks everything that you do. Not only do they track your activity online, but they also track everywhere you go, right?
Exactly. They have like location history that I believe by default, they keep saying like you can turn it off. But here's the thing, they have like a tons of settings that turned on by default. And you have to kind of go there and just specifically turn it off. And it's like, how much time do I have in my availability? You know, every app you have to discover where exactly in the settings you have to turn that off. And some apps, like some operating systems on phone, make it kind of a little simpler, but it's still complicated.
Yeah, it's just incredible the amounts of data that is out there that we're unaware of, you know. And Google is just one player in this, one big, massive player in this. But now we have other companies like Meta and even companies that we may not realize that are doing this, but you know, we download their apps and they all know everything we're doing through our phones, you know, everywhere we're going. And if the microphone capability is turned on, they even know the conversations we're having.
Yeah, there's a
So,
classic example about that as
yeah.
well. Like you have a conversation about something and immediately you see an ad on Google or somewhere about it. Maybe you talk
Yeah.
about touristic travel and then you see hotels.
So, a funny thing happened actually. When I was taking my computer information systems course, we were talking about the how our privacy is very limited, that these companies know everything that we're doing. So the professor, she was actually talking about how she was having a conversation about, I forgot what the name of the company is, maybe Blue Nile Diamond, if that sounds familiar. Well, she was talking about that. She actually mentioned the name of the company. And after I left class, I went on my phone and I saw an ad for that company advertising engagement rings. Now, you know, I wasn't searching for them, not that company either. And out of nowhere, I'm getting these ads for that company that she was just talking about, and talking about how our devices are listening to us.
Yeah, and here's even a worse one. I saw a news about like there's a certain tech called eye tracking tech, right? Like if you attach something on your monitor and you point your eyes to somewhere, you can kind of like the computer can detect where it's pointing and kind of like move it
Right.
from there. So like if you're looking at the screen or not, they can detect it.
Or
And
like a proctor, right?
what's that?
Like a proctor, like a computer
I think
proctor.
so. I think so, but like I think they track your eyeball or something like that. I'm not sure what the tech behind it, but they were also trying to integrate that to advertisements, especially on the phone that you have to kind of watch for a while. So what it does is, you know, the big problem with ads is like, at least for the ads perspective, is that you run the ad, you can just grab a drink or something like that. They want to make sure, or look somewhere else, you know, look at your phone. They want to make sure you're looking at the screen while the ad plays. And if you're not, they stop the ad, and then until you look back at the screen they don't continue it, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that is way too invasive.
No, yeah. I mean, they already track everything you're doing on your phone. They measure the time that you're looking at an image, the how you scroll, where you stop to scroll. I mean, they have all this data, and I mean that's pretty. I would say crazy, scary, but it's just impressive.
What's
But
your
what is it?
Oh, I was gonna say, what's your like most like worrisome area of like ads, like, or the dystopian ad like thing that can happen,
I mean, to me, I don't really
or your
worry
biggest
much
worry?
about it. You know, I probably should worry about it, but I don't really worry too much about it because you know we do consent for our data to be grabbed when we download an app and we don't pay for that. You know, we have access to YouTube. We have access to all the information that YouTube provides. We interact with our friends and family on, Instagram. We do business on LinkedIn, and we don't pay for any of that. Now you could pay for it, but they do offer paid subscriptions, but for the most part, most people don't pay for this. And, it's expected for them to get our data to make money somehow. Well, Berkay, it was great to have you on and discuss,
Sounds good.
you know, the future of technology could seem scary, but, we don't really know what to expect from here and out. We have our assumptions, but anything could happen. Now with artificial intelligence taking its course and its rapid course, we could have our predictions, but we really don't know. It could benefit more than it harms us, or
Wait
vice
until we
versa.
have the Neuralink chips in our
Oh,
brain, like how
yeah.
it's gonna be.
Now, if that's mandated, that's its own.
You have
That
to watch your mandated ads and stuff like that now.
now, 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 now they will have access to what we think, and in the middle of a conversation, we may think about grabbing a soda or something. But but yeah, it was great having you on, and this was a pretty great conversation, and I hoped to have you on again and talk further about technology.
Likewise, thank you so much, Eric, for having me. I
Great.
really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
All
And
right, take
oh
care.
wait, before you go, I almost forgot. Before you go, how can people read your the papers that you co-wrote?
Yeah, what happened about those?
Oh, before you go, how can people access the papers that you co-wrote so they learn a little bit more about your work?
Oh yeah, if they type my name, Berkay Kaplan, B as a blue, E as an elephant, R as a rabbit, K as a key, A as an apple, Y as a yellow. That's my first name, and my last name is K as a key, A as an apple, P as a potato, L as a Larry, A as an apple, N as a Nancy. And so sorry for the long explanation. It's very
You're
hard to
fine.
it's very hard to pronounce my name. But if you kind of type that to Google, you usually can see my Google Scholars page on one of the first links, or you can also go to Google Scholars and type my first name, last name there, and see my user profile. There should be a list of all my papers. I usually put all my papers to archive, which is an open platform. So if you click on the archive link, you'll be able to access the paper.
Great. Well, I hope to talk to you soon, and have a good one.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care.